Ever get that feeling like we're on the verge of something big? Like right on the edge of a huge shift in how everything works.
I know what you mean.
This article you sent in, the one about nuclear batteries, has got that same feeling. Nuclear batteries, it does sound like something out of Star Trek, right?
Yeah, right.
Powering spaceships to go boldly where no one's gone before. But here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
This isn't some far-off sci-fi dream anymore. I mean, imagine phones that could last, like, decades without needing to be charged. Decades.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Imagine the possibilities, right?
case makers that outlive their owners. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
It's amazing how quickly things are changing, right?
So where do we even begin?
Well, the first thing is we've got to clear up what nuclear batteries actually are. Because most folks hear nuclear and their minds go straight to,
Chernobyl?
yeah, giant plants, glowing waste, the whole 9 yards. But these batteries, they're not tiny reactors, nothing like that.
Okay, so no risk of my phone melting down mid-call.
Not at all. We're talking about radioactive decay here, a natural process. And certain isotopes, like, let's say nickel-63, release a bit of energy over time. That's what we harness.
Nickel-63. Catchy. So it's like
Yeah.
a slow, controlled release of energy.
Exactly. Think of it like a clock gradually winding down. And that energy, that's what gets converted into electricity.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But is it safe? I mean, radioactive and in my pocket don't exactly scream relax.
And you're right to ask that. Safety is absolutely paramount here. The thing is, with nickel-63, the radiation it emits, it's super low energy. Plus, these batteries are designed with layers upon layers of shielding, like Fort Knox levels of protection to prevent any leaks.
So it's safe to say my phone won't suddenly,
Turn into a miniature sun.
yeah, that. So no glowing in the dark then.
No glowing. You're safe on that front. But the safety aspect, that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. Because when you start thinking about the applications...
Okay, yeah, the article mentioned some pretty wild stuff, like using these batteries for everything from, like you said, pacemakers to spaceships. Seriously.
Yeah, it's not even just sci-fi anymore. We're talking real potential here.
Yeah.
Just imagine a world where, say, someone who needs a pacemaker, they don't have to go through repeat surgeries every few years to replace the battery.
That would be incredible. Peace of mind for those folks and their families.
Right. Or think about space exploration. We're talking about probes and rovers that could travel way farther for much longer periods of time because their power sources, well,
Basically eternal.
practically. It's like we could unlock a whole new era of space travel. It's incredibly exciting.
It is exciting. But, and I hate to be a downer, but like with great power comes,
Yeah.
you know,
Responsibility.
exactly. Who's going to make sure all this incredible power is used responsibly? I mean, we've already got our hands full figuring out nuclear power plants. Those are huge. How do we even start to regulate something this small and potentially everywhere?
You hit the nail on the head. And that's where this idea of a dedicated Department of Technology, a DOT, comes in. It's all over this article you sent. Pretty much the main focus, even.
So like a new sheriff in town,
Yeah.
specifically for all things tech, including these nuclear batteries.
Exactly. The article suggesting the DOT would be the main regulatory body for this entire field.
So they'd be calling the shots on everything, like from the very first what if in a lab to how these things are made, used even.
Disposed of. You got it. That's what they call a cradle-to-grave approach.
Cradle to grave. Sounds kind of intense, but it makes sense. You can't just chuck something that's potentially radioactive in the recycling bin.
Exactly. But here's the thing. They wouldn't be working in isolation. This DOT, they'd be collaborating with existing agencies too, like the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC.
The NRC, right? Those are the nuclear safety gurus.
You got it. And of course, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. You know them.
Hold on. Not everyone's as up on their government agencies as we are, Maybe a little refresher for our listeners.
Right, of course. So the NRC, they're all about making sure anything nuclear is safe, period. Like, super strict, by the book. They set the rules for handling nuclear materials and make sure everyone follows them.
Got it. And the EPA.
They're environmental watchdogs. Their whole thing is protecting our air, water, land, the whole shebang from anything that could cause harm. Pollution, hazardous waste, that sort of thing.
Okay, so the NRC handles the don't blow us all up part, and the EPA makes sure we don't poison the planet part.
You said it better than I could. It's all about teamwork, really.
Right, teamwork. So where does the BDOT fit into all of this?
Think of the DOT as the conductor of an orchestra. They're the ones making sure everyone's playing the same tune at the right time so we don't end up with a cacophony.
I like that analogy. The symphony of nuclear safety.
Yeah.
But seriously, it sounds like the DOT would have a ton of responsibility on its plate.
Absolutely. They'd be in charge of setting clear standards for how these batteries are made, how they're handled, even how they're disposed of, to avoid any risk of polluting our environment, which, let's be honest, is a huge concern with anything nuclear, right?
Right. And speaking of disposal, that's something I was wondering about. If these batteries can really last for like 50 years, what happens when they finally run out of juice? That's incredible for longevity, but it seems like it could be a real environmental headache down the line if we don't figure it out now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Figuring out the disposal thing before we have a planet full of dead nuclear batteries, that's some serious foresight.
Right. And it's not just about preventing a problem, it's about seeing the potential, even in something like disposal. The article, it even talks about the DOT potentially overseeing nationwide recycling programs for these batteries.
Whoa, hold up. Recycling, so we could actually get something useful back from these batteries even after they're spent.
Exactly. Think about it recovering valuable materials like that nickel 63 we were talking about and giving them a second life in new batteries. It's like, talk about sustainability.
Okay, that's seriously impressive. It's like we're not just changing how we power things, we're changing how we think about resources, waste,
Hmm.
a whole shebang.
Exactly. It's a whole new paradigm.
But let's flip the script for a second. The article, it also talks about what happens if we don't get this DOT thing off the ground,
Right.
right? And it's not pretty.
Yeah, not pretty at all. Without a central body like the DOT, the article argues, we risk this whole thing becoming a free-for-all.
A free-for-all, how so?
Well, think about it. You could have one state with really strict safety protocols, and the state next door, they're like wide open. It'd be like the Wild West of nuclear batteries.
A patchwork of regulations. Sounds messy.
Total mess. And in that kind of environment, well, companies are going to try to cut corners. They'll go wherever the rules are most lax to get their products out there faster, even if it means sacrificing safety or cutting environmental corners.
So instead of a symphony of safety, we end up with a bunch of off-key instruments playing whatever they want.
Laughs.
Yeah.
Exactly. And who loses in that scenario? Everyone. Consumers get unsafe products, the environment gets polluted, and the whole promise of this incredible technology gets tainted by.
Greed and short-sightedness.
Exactly.
And that would be tragic because, as we've been discussing, this technology, it has the potential to do so much good. It's like we're standing at a fork in the road, and one path leads to a brighter future, and the other path.
Well, it leads to a world where we squandered an incredible opportunity, and frankly, with the challenges we're facing, we can't afford to do that.
You're right. This isn't just some abstract technological debate. This is about real lives.
Hmm.
So let's say, for argument's sake, that this DOT does become a reality. What does success look like in, say, 5, 10 years down the line? Paint me a picture.
Okay, so in a perfect world, the DOT wouldn't just be a regulatory body. It would be this driving force for positive change. Imagine them incentivizing companies to actually develop even safer, even more efficient nuclear battery tech.
Incentivizing, like
Think research grants, tax breaks, maybe even creating special zones where companies can test out new ideas without being bogged down by bureaucracy.
so like a Silicon Valley for nuclear battery.
Exactly. A place where the best and brightest minds can collaborate, experiment, push the boundaries of what's possible. And in this future, these batteries, they wouldn't be this weird, scary thing. They'd just be normal.
Like I don't even think twice about the microchip that's in my phone or my laptop. It's just there.
Exactly. Ubiquitous, but in a good way. And think about the impact. Imagine a world without energy poverty, a world where developing nations, remote communities, they can all have access to clean, reliable power.
And no more range anxiety when you're driving your electric car.
Laughs, exactly. But speaking of anxiety,
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Let's address the elephant in the room here.
the N word.
Exactly. Nuclear. It's a loaded term. A lot of baggage. How do you get past that?
Honestly, that might be the DOT's most important job. Public education. They need to go all in on explaining this tech in a way that everyone can understand.
So less scientific jargon, more plain English.
Exactly. It's about showing people how these batteries can benefit their lives, their communities, the planet as a whole. It's about emphasizing the battery part of nuclear battery.
Right. This isn't some giant meltdown-prone power plant. It's like pocket-sized power, but better.
And it's about highlighting those safety features, all
Yeah.
those layers of shielding, the rigorous testing. These things are designed to be safe even if they're dropped, crushed, whatever.
Because, let's be real, people are glued to their phones, stressing about battery life. Imagine the peace of mind knowing your phone could last for years on a single charge.
And It's not just personal peace of mind. Think about disaster preparedness. Emergency equipment that can last for years without needing a recharge. That's a game changer.
Totally. Hospitals, communication networks, all staying online when it matters most. That's incredible.
Exactly. It's about building a more resilient future.
So how do we get there? How do we bridge that gap between the fear and the potential?
Transparency. The DOT, they've got to be straight with people, both about the benefits and the risks. No sugarcoating.
So honesty, even if it's not always what people want to hear.
Exactly. Address those concerns head on. Provide real evidence-based information. That's how you build trust.
So it's not just about what they say, it's about how they say it.
100%. No more hiding behind technical mumbo-jumbo or bureaucratic doublespeak.
Plain talk, real talk.
You got it.
Because ultimately, this isn't about some abstract technology, is it? It's about people. People.
Yeah.
That's a good place to, bring it back down to earth a bit. Because it's easy to get caught up in all the what ifs and the possibilities.
But at the end of the day, technology is supposed to serve humanity, not the other way around.
Exactly. And we've seen it time and time again, right? Technology with the best intentions, but unforeseen consequences.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it? The law of unintended consequences.
Nice. So how do we, I don't know, how do we make sure we don't end up on the wrong side of history with this? With nuclear batteries?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But I think a big part of it is, like we've been talking about, having a body like the DOT or something similar that can provide that oversight, that can anticipate challenges, not just react to them after the fact.
So proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly, thinking 10 steps ahead. Because once something like this is out in the wild, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
And it can't just be about the science and the regulations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, public perception, how people feel about this technology, that's got to factor in too.
100%. You could have the safest, most efficient nuclear battery in the world, but if people are afraid of it, they're not going to use it.
So how do you bridge that gap between, like, the fear and the facts?
Well, it starts with honesty, transparency. No more hiding behind jargon or downplaying risks.
So level with people.
Exactly. Address those concerns head on. Provide clear, easy-to-understand information, and be open to dialogue, to answering tough questions.
Because this isn't about us versus them, the scientists versus the public.
Right. We're all in this together.
It's about finding solutions that work for everyone. That's how we build trust.
Trust is key. Trust in the technology itself. Trust in the people and institutions that are developing and regulating it. Without that, it's going to be an uphill battle.
It's funny. We started this whole conversation talking about nuclear batteries powering spacecraft to Mars.
And it turns out the real frontier might be right here at home.
Exactly. It's about solving the challenges we're facing here on Earth. Energy, sustainability, quality of life. That's where the real innovation is needed.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you, dear listener, for joining us for this deep dive into the world of nuclear batteries. It's a complex issue, for sure, but by staying informed, by asking those tough questions, by, being engaged, well, that's how we make sure the future we're building is one we can all be proud of.
Well said. And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep those minds open, because who knows what the future holds.
Exactly. This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time.